Firstly, I want to preface this with stating that these are my own opinions, but I feel like other people will probably relate to these opinions, and if not, it'd be great to read your opinions in the comments. Compare these two buttons. Which would you prefer to use and click on when in a game, software, or anything else? If you chose option A, you're subjectively wrong. Option A feels weak and lifeless because not much is happening. There's only a border appearing, nothing very grabbing or eye-catching, whereas option B is very much on the contrary. The feel and text color change really spices it up and adds an element of pizzazz and satisfaction that option A just doesn't. This is because of what I call the fill effect. The fill effect is when a UI element does something that really hits the right spot when using it. It makes you feel all warm inside knowing that the designers really wanted a good product when making the UI. The border effect, however, is the exact opposite, and as demonstrated in option A, a border appears and nothing really changes. It leaves the player in a state of unendingness, as if the button press hasn't been resolved. This is similar to when you play a chord progression on a piano only to have it end sounding like it should have another closing chord. This effect is present in almost all forms of media, but I just like to call it the fill and border effect because it relates to UI so well. Anyway, let's look at a case study of a new game that, in my opinion at least, has a really lackluster and almost lazy UI. Case study: Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. I, like most people, was kind of hyped for Security Breach's release, and so eagerly watched Markiplier's videos on it. However, after seeing its UI, I was not only confused, but also disappointed in it. This game that looked amazing in the trailers with awesome music and an in-depth story somehow fell at the last hurdle. Now, I don't mean to say that UI is the most crucial part of a game, it kind of is, but I won't get into that, but it's extremely obvious when not a lot of thought or effort has been put into a UI, in which FNaF Security Breach shows. I guess they were going for an old computer yet still cyberpunky neon look, but it kind of backfires and doesn't really fit with the rest of the game. Old FNaF UIs were simple and effective, and from trying to spice up the HUD elements and menu options, the creators must have not realised that a game that looks this good on the highest settings needs a UI that also looks as good, and not just a seemingly shoddy and half-heartedly out-of-place mess. I'm saying this because some of the elements are literally out of place and seem to use bland stock fonts. This takes away all sense of immersion that a game may have and instead makes it seem like an unfinished demo, which other parts of the game feel like also, but I won't delve into those. Not only does the design of buttons and tabs feel lacking, but the colour palette is also quite depressing. Not much so in the normal menus, but more in the game over screen, where the pink text is extremely hard to read over the static background. I personally feel the pink theme works fine as a concept, seeing as the overall aesthetic of the game is neon and bright, but the overall design of the UI fails this aesthetic, as it just doesn't capture the same feelings and sense of overwhelmingness that the neon lights do. It instead feels underwhelming and incomplete. Now, let's look at an old game which does UI superbly. Case study: Crysis. Can it run Crysis? Well, yes, it can. Crysis's UI is one to behold. The sheer effort that must have been put into this, I can only imagine. The shapes, the colours, the animations, the sounds even, they're all so intricate and specially designed that everything is amazingly satisfying and marvellous to use. It really makes you feel like you're part of the future, and makes you wonder, what would it be like to use a computer which is entirely run on this kind of UI? Would it get boring quickly? Would it be too distracting for work to get done? Or would it be too much and make you retire back to the plain old Windows you're used to? Well, actually, I say plain old Windows with a pinch of salt, because Windows isn't plain at all. It actually has some very fancy and smooth things. But alas, I am going on a tangent. I just wanted to talk about Crysis, because not only was it a technological marvel because of its graphics, but it was also a technological marvel because of its fantastic UI, something that games nowadays should learn from. That's all I've got to say. So thank you for watching this video, and please do write your opinions in the comments. I hope this helped, and have fun.